manager here actually at Fractionals United. And today we have a special event for you guys presented by our dear partners, Jacki and Aliza. One thing about Jacki is that she actually had an event with us not too long ago, and she literally broke a record for the Fractionals United community in terms of registration. So by popular demand, we've decided to bring her and Aliza back. We're going to introduce to you the program they've developed, which is specifically designed to actually help you start your fractional practice. And I mean, they're not talking about just giving you a few tips here and there. They're talking about taking you from zero to first client booked in 50 days. So amazing, amazing news there. Another cool point about Jacki is that she actually went fractional by accident in 2022. And ever since then, she's actually managed to build an agency that's approaching $1 million in annual revenue. So it's amazing there as well. Eliza, on the other hand, actually called on Jacki to help guide her to go fractional back in May. And, with that said, you're already here. So you're ahead of where they started. We're doing this on purpose. So let's get it started. Without further ado, I'm going to pass it to Eliza.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nick. It's so great to see all of you guys. Thank you all so much for being here and spending the next hour of your day with us. I'm Aliza, and I, like Nick mentioned, Jack and I started Fractional 50 just a couple of months ago. And basically what we're here to do today is talk through 3 simple steps to kickstart your fractional business. Now, I'll also add that the purpose of this webinar is also to be a workshop, right? Because we don't want you to just sit here and listen to us speak for the next hour. We really want you all to leave here at the top of the hour and actually have written out some tangible things that you can go and do to get yourself started. Because if you're here, that means you're ready to do this and you're excited about it, and we might as well keep that momentum going. So next slide, Jacki. Just a quick agenda for what we're going to cover today. We're going to start off with some quick intros. Nick already did a great job of introducing the two of us, but we'll just share a little bit more about ourselves so that you know who you're hanging out with for the next hour. Then we'll talk a little bit more about Fractional 50 and what the two of us are working on over there. And then we're going to get right into it with the 3 things that you can do right now to start your fractional business. And at the end, we'll wrap up just to talk about some future opportunities of continuing to stay in touch with us and work with us on your fractional business. Okay, and before we get into it, this was a quote that I read a couple of months ago that just really stuck with me. And I feel like it's so relevant for thinking about fractional businesses, whether you've already started or you're looking to grow what you've already started, or you haven't even made the first step yet. And that is, if you don't build your dream, then someone else will hire you to help build theirs. And honestly, I feel like my vision on working for other people completely shifted just in hearing this. So hopefully, if nothing else, it's just a little bit of inspiration for you to be here and be excited about what you're doing to start your own business.
Hi, I'm Jacki. I absolutely love participating in Slack community. So you might have seen me around the Fractionals United Slack, getting into everybody's business. I'm the founder of Activate the Magic. We're a fractional RevOps agency. My second person just came on full time. It's very exciting. Overall, we're a team of about 12. So I specialize in technical RevOps, Salesforce and HubSpot, like into the nitty gritty. Absolutely love entrepreneurship. I'm kind of an accidental. I had to become an entrepreneur because I just kept on getting fired. So, but I've come to I resisted it forever, but I actually really freaking love it. And I just love personality tests, karaoke. Like I will shake with excitement if you take me to karaoke. And I have a miniature dachshund, Freddie. So that's also my new personality. Aliza.
I love that. And I'm Aliza. I founded my own consultancy called Hot Sass back in May. I've been doing some career coaching and business coaching for a while before that, but officially got myself up and running in May and have a couple of clients. Thank you. And I mostly focus on like pre-seed, super early stage startups to help them get creative with their go-to-market strategies. My background is mostly in sales and marketing. I pretty much touch everything go-to-market at this point in my career. including being an accidental ops person, which I'm sure many of you here can relate to. And when I'm not doing webinars with Jacki or working my full-time job, you can find me skiing in the winter. I'm currently also growing a TikTok account. So you can follow me on TikTok, where I talk a lot about baking sourdough and being a mom. I have 3 little kids under 6, so we're definitely very busy over here. But
Mom with Taste on TikTok.
Yeah,
Mom with Taste.
at Mom with
So
Taste.
good.
If you want to follow me, just a little shameless plug. All right, so just really quickly, we wanted to share with you what Fractional 50 is, because we keep mentioning it, but we're just to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing. So not only are we helping run this webinar with Fractionals United, but Jacki and I started Fractional 50 together a couple of months ago, where we help people just like you launch your fractional business in 50 days. So throughout this webinar, you'll hear us giving, we are going to do the tangible tips. We're going to workshop some of these things together today. But one of the best parts about this is that if you love us and you love what we're teaching you and you want to do more, then we are actually going to be opening up applications for our winter cohort to join us for the full 50 days as soon as this webinar is over. So you'll be able to join us in January if you would like to keep learning more from us. We just finished our inaugural cohort before Thanksgiving, and I think already 3 out of 5 of our initial cohort members have their first clients, which is amazing. So that's a little bit about us. And the 3 steps that we're going to cover today include pricing and packaging, validating and iterating with your circle of influence, and generating conversations to actually book meetings. So with these 3 things, the idea is that at the end of this meeting today, you will have what it takes to actually start that fractional business, just in thinking about these 3 simple steps.
Exactly. And we're going to bake in a tiny bit of workshop time so you can actually get started. So it's not just like, oh, now I know what to do, but like I've already started it. So momentum is everything. Yeah. So step 1, pricing and packaging with the value equation. What? So why on earth would we start with pricing? It seems aggressive. Aliza was like, what?
It does seem aggressive.
Yeah. But actually, we really want to focus on the product, which is you. And just always focusing on the value you want to deliver. And really massive wealth. If you want to make a lot of money, it's just energy in exchange for creating massive value. So being obsessed with what you can create and generate, that people just think is like, oh yeah, that's amazing. The more and more success and wealth and ability to help other people come with it. And I heard this a couple of months ago, and I was like, oh, it is. But entrepreneurship is creating new value. So you can do that within a company, right? Creating that new value. And you could probably do fractional without exactly being an entrepreneur, right? If you're just kind of doing what everyone else does. But if you really want to take on the entrepreneurship hat with gusto, really focusing on creating that new value. I'd love to introduce, one of my absolute heroes is Alex Hormozy. If you know him, give me a whoop whoop. And in his book, $100 Million Offers, the subtitle is Making Offers So Good That People Feel Stupid Saying No. So nothing in the book is like new, but the way he breaks it down. So really thinking of value as an equation with 4 elements. So dream outcome. I'm going to use weight loss and looking hot because 'tis the season. Dream outcome, like bikini bod, making all the heads turn, times perceived likeliness of achievement. Well, what I'm doing right now is I have a personal trainer, and I attempt to eat cleanly. So but I've done that a million times, so my perceived likeliness of achievement is pretty low, actually. And time delay, I am 42. It's not yet happened. And effort and sacrifice, so much. So altogether, this offer, the value to me is like, yeah, come in again. However, if you got a plastic surgeon who specialized in the liposuction and sculpting of all the things. Dream outcome, of course. I see there are hundreds of testimonials and before and after pictures. Yep. Perceived likeness of achievement, like, yes, absolutely. Time delay, 6 hours of surgery and some downtime. Effort and sacrifice. Listen, as long as you keep the drugs flowing, it's not that much sacrifice. So all in all, that value, that package is so much more compelling, right? So that's why I would shell out 10 grand for, I'm not actually, this is just a demonstration, for like the sculpt and repackage versus doing what I always do sort of thing. So I just love thinking about how we're constructing our values and our offering with those in mind. Aliza?
Awesome. Thanks, Jacki.
Yeah.
So we want to talk a little bit about keeping pricing simple and the value behind keeping pricing simple. And we'll talk a little bit more about what simple actually means in a second and what that actually looks like in practice. But before, I think it is just important to have a sense as to why we're presenting pricing in the way that we do. So first and foremost, having simple pricing is going to make sure that you have clarity and transparency around your pricing and your offering, right? And that makes it easy for clients to understand the value that they're paying for. Having a simple pricing structure will also make the decision-making process much, much easier. If you've ever been on the buying end of like buying a service or product, you probably know this firsthand, that it's much easier to make a decision and much quicker to make a decision if the pricing is simple and back and forth negotiations are at a minimum, right? And then last but not least too, it allows your potential clients to have an easier time comparing. And we all know at the end of the day, we would love to be the only ones on the table, but typically you end up being compared to other people or services or softwares when it comes to companies or clients making a decision about whether or not they want to work with you. And so if your pricing is easy to understand, then when you go up against your competitors, then your potential clients are going to have an easier time comparing your services, but also comparing that value between you and others. Does that make sense? Perfect. So the other thing that we're going to propose and that we're going to have you guys do some workshopping on is sticking to 3 to 4 packages when it comes to what you're going to actually offer at the end of the day. And the reason why we always suggest that, whether it's these webinars or during our Fractional 50 like full course, is there's a couple of reasons behind it and why the psychology works so well. The first one is through the anchoring effect. I love the example of like going to a bar or like a restaurant, and why restaurants will have like options at multiple price points. Because if you are on a date, let's say, and you have 3 options in front of you, you're typically going to go for the middle option, right? Like you don't want to overspend on this person, but you definitely don't want to come in at like the cheapest level. So it just allows the brain to sort of pretty easily identify like what option is going to be best for them, typically leading people to the middle option, which feels just like a safe and balanced choice. The second one is perceived value. So having multiple packages at different levels also gives the perception that the larger the packages, the greater the value is, right? And the value is. And so it really encourages your clients to compare the options, but also makes it really easy for them to understand the benefits of actually upgrading to a higher package. And we'll look at this in a little bit more detail when we look at some examples of pricing. But then the last one is just having choices, but without the overwhelm of choices. We've all been in a situation where you go to Target, you're looking for a toothpaste, and you show up in the toothpaste aisle, and there's literally 100 different options, like not even over exaggerating. And that can just lead to decision fatigue, which sometimes actually leads to people not buying at all, right? So keeping it simple, having those 3 or 4 options gives people the opportunity to make a decision that's best for them, but it keeps you shielded from the potential of somebody backing out because they have too many options on the table. Does that make sense? Okay. And then last but not least, we also want you to think about how you're designing your packages based on the services that you're actually offering. And this is part of what we're going to workshop in a couple of minutes. The first thing that you want to do is identify those core services. And the reason why I like to think about that first is because that's going to be the foundation for all of your offerings, right? Like, what are the things that you know that if you were to be asked what you're best at, like these are the 3 or 4 things that somebody would choose to hire you for every single time, right? And that's the foundation for all of your packages and pretty much like the bulk of what's offered in your smallest package. Then you want to think about how can you add incremental value, right? So for that medium and large package, what can you add on that's going to enhance the package, whether it's additional services, additional support, extra deliverables, premium support, right? Like, what can you add to your medium and large packages to make them still interesting to people, to show that you have additional value that you can be adding to them, but still maintaining those core services that you know that you're good at every single time, that you can deliver to every single client. And last but not least, oh, sorry, Jacki, you want to think about price gradation, right? So how are you going to price yourself so that at every, as your additional services are added on, you're able to offer more services to those clients, but then also be able to price it so that you're leaving room for being able to have a small, medium, and a large package. Okay. So now we're going to take a look at some examples from me and Jacki. Now, a couple things that I want you to keep in mind as you're looking at this. Jacki's business is much more built out than mine is. She has actually a more specific list of services that she offers in all of her packages, which is why she's able to include some more details on her pricing page than I do. But here she has her 4 offerings. It's, you know, they're in brand, which I love. They're on brand with her Activate the Magic branding. But it's very easy to see, like, okay, what's included at each level and how much is that going to cost me per month. Another thing that you'll notice from this, actually, it's probably easier to see in my packaging, Jacki. So if you go to the next page, this is what my pricing page looked like. So I like being able to compare the 2 bars because again, hers is much more like there's a very specific service that she's offering for her customers. Mine is a little bit more ambiguous. Like, I do go-to-market consulting. So for some of my customers, I'm doing fractional sales management. For others, I'm doing a little bit more like content development strategy, right? And things like that. So I don't have necessarily the details of what each package includes, but it's very simple. It's very easy to understand. For a certain number of hours per month, it's going to cost you a certain price.
And when I was starting out, mine looked like this.
Perfect.
It was just me. Yeah. I was like, how much of a bucket do we want?
Exactly. And one thing that we teach in our Fractional 50 course is this idea around getting away. And I know some people are going, oh, I think someone might have actually just asked this question. So this might come as a surprise to some people, but we actually encourage all of our cohort members to get away from like scope of work, hourly payment, or like like a scope of work style payment structure where you're either charging hourly or scoping out how many hours a certain project is going to take and putting a price to that project. And instead, we always encourage you to shift towards this idea of a monthly retainer. And I'm actually going to let Jacki explain really quickly why she did it that way, because the reason I do it this way is because of the reason she does it this way.
Because billable hours are the stupidest thing ever. And especially so I'm building the agency that I would have loved to have access to when I was in-house, team of 1, and when I went to a consultancy. So basically, we think we know what the project will be, particularly in RevOps, but probably applicable to your area of expertise as well, is you think you know, and you get in and it's like a home improvement project and there's mold behind that door. Like, actually your data is not even usable. Like, one time we were supposed to be building out Pardot things and they were like, oh yeah, we have 100,000 contacts. I was like, oh my God, this is gonna be amazing. We got in, only about like 2,000 actually had emails, and who knows how accurate those were, right? So the project itself just switched so much. And instead of going back and trying to renegotiate what the deliverables are or what is and is not out of scope, and then we go back and Instead, what I offer is it's like you're purchasing bandwidth, like a dinner reservation. How many burgers will you be needing this month, do you think?
Right.
Sort of thing. And that I do it month to month so people can go up and down. So it's super flexible, but at least we know what's coming up. So we can deploy our like capacity and you can deploy your capacity. So it's a little bit of both worlds.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. And so next, what we're going to do is we're going to take a couple of minutes to actually start thinking about this yourself. So we're going to set, maybe let's just do 3 minutes, Jacki, for the sake of time. But what we want you guys to do is actually start thinking about what your entry-level offering is. Now, if you already have an offering, I would encourage you to think about how you might rethink about it in order to put it into this like small, medium, large package and a monthly package rate, as opposed to maybe the traditional like hourly rate that you maybe have been using. So we're going to put 3 minutes on the clock. Everyone take out a pen and paper or your notes app on your phone and actually start writing out like what are those 4 or 5 core services that you can offer today when we get off the phone. Like what are the things that somebody would be hiring you for today?
Sure.
Jacki, you want to throw a timer up and maybe some tunes?
To do it, and I'm going to find some tunes as well.
Oh, you already got 3 minutes on the clock.
I do.
And feel free to come off mute if anyone has any questions during this 3 minutes. If you want to either ask in the chat or come off mute and talk to us, we're happy to help. That's why we're here. I'm going to answer Lindsay's question live. She asked, so you don't outline any scope at all? Not entirely. I just never put a price to the scope of the project that I'm doing specifically. So I'll give you an example. I started working with a client. They're very early stage. They knew that they wanted to have me around for, a while. I'm still working with them after it's been like 2 years now. When I first started working with them, like the initial contract that we put together outlined the goals basically of our partnership, right? Almost the same way that like if you were hiring someone for a new job, you'd put together a job description. We outlined like what the expectations would be of me coming in to work with them, doing fractional sales management, helping with go-to-market content, things like that. And then based on the goals that we outlined together and how much work they actually needed to be done on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis, that's how I determined which package was going to be best for them and consulted them on which package, how many hours I thought they were going to need in order to accomplish the goals. So yes, in that initial contract, we outlined like goals of the partnership, but there's nothing in there that says like, that they're like, I'm not charging them hourly. They get 10 hours with me a month. These are the things that they expect. And we basically like look at it week by week to make sure that we're working towards those goals together. Does that make sense? I don't know if I answered that well, but hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I'll add that I do put together a project plan, right? So estimate like what we'll be doing in priorities and how much bandwidth we expect that to take. Do like a Gantt chart on what we're thinking, but also say we have an agile methodology. We sort of run like a product team, right? We'll have a weekly sync where we check in on progress, what's on deck, and we keep going. Perfect. Any revelations, any big ahas that you're dying to get out?
So it's interesting. I'm in my service, I'm talent acquisition, and so I find like my competition is typically agency recruiters, and they typically only have one model. And I can offer that model for sure. But I think what I'm hearing from you all is, so like in fact, I have a pitch today. I have a proposal that I'm putting out to a client today, and they were referred to me by a contingency agency. So I felt like I had to include that in my model because it's something they're accustomed to, but it's not really how I want to work, because it's, to me, pretty limited. I don't get to help them build their employment brand. I don't get to help them think about how these positions grow their business, blah, blah, blah. There's all these other things that to me are important in talent acquisition. In fact, if you don't do them, you might as well not go hire anyone. In my personal opinion, it's like kind of a waste of time. So I have a model where I have the contingent in it for this purpose. And then I have my fractional services. I think what I'm hearing you say is potentially what I should do is have different levels of fractional services as well. Would that resonate with you?
Monique, if you have a call later today, I actually don't have anything right after this webinar. So if you want to stick around on the Zoom afterwards, we can talk through some of that in more detail. Do you want to do that?
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I have a call at 2 this afternoon.
Perfect. Yeah, so I have some time.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
you just let's chat after. I'll even intro you to him if you'd like. But Monique, you bring up something I think is just so freaking important, is that instead of like trying to shoehorn yourself into a project, having that like, no, this is what I want to offer. This is what I want to do. And really having that point of view and that kind of zest, it's exciting. And it's freeing. I promise, if you have the desire to bring something, law of the universe, there's someone out there who would love that. That would be exactly what they need. So we'll talk more about that in this section, which is validate and iterate your packaging and pricing with your circle of influence. So this is an idiom that I've found in the wild. I don't know if it's attributed to anyone in particular, but if I ask for money, I will get advice. If I ask for advice, I will get money. And that can be applied to pretty much anything. So like if I want your business, I will ask your advice. If I ask for your advice, I'll probably get your business or refer me to someone. Because people get invested. Okay, so why validate? Because you've got this amazing idea. Oh, hi, my name is Jacki. I get an amazing idea, and this is amazing, and this is what I'll price it. Let me bring it to market. I did something called CEO Consigliere like a year and a half ago. I was like, this is the best idea ever. It was right after I read $100 million offers. Everyone that I talked to was like, yes, absolutely. That's an incredible value. Blah, blah, blah. And I went live with it, crickets. Because even though I asked people if it sounded like a good idea, I didn't take the next step and say, would you buy that? And if they said yes, how much would you pay for that? Right? Things can be a great idea and they love that for you, especially if you're saying it in a super excited way. Like, I dare you to tell me something's not a good idea. Like, but it makes it, we're going to beat it up. We're going to validate it. Really staying close to that market validation. It'll save you so much time. You can learn it from me or you can learn it for yourself. I recommend learning it from me. So really refining your offer, because no amount of tinkering on your own can replace that insight of a prospect telling you what is or is not compelling. Second thing, to validate pricing. I'm thinking of charging $7,000 a month. Is that something you'd buy, right? So really getting that pricing. No. Well, what would make it a no-brainer? 2,000. Oh, okay. So maybe I start at 2,000 and I figure it out, right? Figure out what parts, what elements of your package, your value would drive that perceived value up or down, right? You can ask those questions. And it starts opening opportunities. You're soft launching what you're up to. And when people do give you advice, do give you feedback, anytime someone wants to pick my brain and I talk to them, I am invested in their future. Like if 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 they're ever promoting something, yes, sign me up. I'm involved now. I want you to win. So people love being early to a secret, especially if they've given you advice. So it kind of opens up those opportunities. One of the books I read, so I'm actually a former kindergarten teacher and then real estate agent. I was an apartments rental agent in Manhattan during the financial crisis. And a book that I read that made a huge difference for me was Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. And he talks about the Pareto principle 80-20. So 80% of anything is done by about 20% of the people, right? So 80% of my business is actually going to come from 20% people. And that 20% is made up of 3 kind of archetypes: connectors, mavens, and salespeople. So connectors are the people that if you wrote down a list of everyone that you're friends with, and then on the next, how did you meet that person? And then how did you meet that person? It'll come, I promise you, it'll come down to like 3 or 4 people. Like these people just collect people and they might not know where to go with it, but they know who to introduce you to. There's probably some connectors in this room with us right now. And like connectors just love collecting people. Mavens love collecting information, data. So think of the person who knows every single CPQ thing on the market, how much it's priced, what it's good for, what it's bad for. They might not say anything on LinkedIn, but once you find that person, oh, they're the person. And if that person finds what you're doing compelling, anybody who asks, they're the person that everybody asks, and that's what they're gonna say. You got to go to Kim Jamerson if you want that. And salespeople, people who infect others with their enthusiasm, like via emotion, and just the person who's telling you about the lasagna that they had last night, and you're like salivating. And it's not, they're not like, let me see you some lasagna. It's just who they are. They just love kind of expressing themselves. And I might be a salesperson because I'm very enthusiastic. And as you think of these kind of 3 archetypes, to kind of start jogging your brain, think of past bosses, right? Who are your past bosses who contributed to your growth, who loved your work, even if it was a short time? They'd probably love to hear what you're up to. And if that boss is also a connector, hot damn, right? Peers, who did you just love working with at your last couple jobs? Even cross functionality. Like, were you great friends with who was in engineering or in product or sales, whoever it was, connect with them, especially if they're one of these 3 archetypes. And in your network, we're all in Fractionals United. We're all in these Slack communities. We're in LinkedIn. We're doing in-person networking events. It's worth it to take the time and just kind of gather those names and scan for these 3 archetypes. And book rec, Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, of course. And so why are we doing this? A little bit more trust and credibility, starting those referrals and word of mouth. The quickest deals that I sell are people who already know me or love someone who already knows who I am. They don't even care about what's in the project plan, right? Someone I used to work with is Kevin Dorsey, KD, on LinkedIn. And we were chatting and he's like, oh no, I need you. I'm like, okay, well, on our discovery call, he's like, no, let's just get started. Right. And now they started at like the medium package, had to go to large. We had to create a new package for them. Right. So those are the easiest sells, the fastest you're going to get going, make an impact. Longest term engagements really are going to come from your network. And if you know them, you really understand their needs, right? So you can better tailor what you're doing and you can have more success faster. So if you're not already sort of collecting your people, HubSpot is actually free. I'm a HubSpot partner and affiliate partner. I don't know what I am. And if you ever need help, you can ping me. But even just casual $0, or I think the entry is like $30 for the starter to all the hubs. You can do newsletter. You can even just collect people, think about them, and warm them up, keep talking to them so you're staying on top of their minds. Little activity. Create a list of at least 5 people who you know would either hire you or refer you. And bonus points if they're a connector, Maven, or yeah, today. Okay, I'm gonna set the timer. Does 3 minutes sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I think so. And while you're doing that too, I put a call out in the chat to drop your LinkedIn so we can all connect with each other too.
Yeah. I'm seeing all these questions. If we don't answer them now, Aliza and I will take some time and write some answers, either put them in a resource or we'll follow up with you. These are gold. Thank you.
Really good questions.
Yeah.
I've been trying to stay on top of it.
Yeah. Bob, you're hungry. I'm sorry.
Was that lasagna, Jackie? You sold it.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was.
Okay, that makes sense. So I can either share the screen or do the music and timer. I don't know.
The prompt was to start putting together your zone of influence. So
Yeah.
there's somebody who would, and I'll type it out in here. So someone who would hire you or refer you today. And put 3 to 5 names on that list.
Yeah. Ooh, an EOS integrator. I'm in EO, and I'm learning all about that, Marsha. Very cool stuff. About a minute left. Marina, I'm actually going to talk about that in the next section.
My LinkedIn's blowing up, you guys. Great work out there.
Let's go. All right. Let me try to, oh, there we go. Beautiful. If you had an insight, pop it in the chat. Really excited to see what y'all come up with. Beautiful. So our next section, this is the good stuff, generating conversations and booking meetings. So here's a question, pop quiz. On LinkedIn, where are most new business meetings booked? It's not a trick question.
Someone said
yes, in the DMs, exactly.
Is there a song about that? It goes down in the DMs.
Oh,
in the DMs.
Now it has a more professional meaning.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
The LinkedIn DMs.
So most of my, actually, it's rare that I get an intro or request that's not on the LinkedIn DMs. Like, who emails anymore? Like, come on. And I think I've had one person book via my website. So there you go. But here is here is what your job actually is. To go fractional with the world, with your sector of the market, with your niche. Your goal is to go from a total stranger to a trusted advisor. Was that a laugh or a cough?
I think it was a cough.
Okay.
I'm muting him.
Perfect. So right now, especially on LinkedIn, my key persona is going to be sales leaders at like startups under 200 people, B2B. So while I'm pretty well known in the RevOps community, I could be a total stranger to a lot of those people. So to go from total stranger to, hey, oh my God, you need Jacki, it takes three things: providing value over time and some social proof. And we go into this much more in depth and guided in the full cohort, but if you just do this, your life will change. So as we know, it goes down in the direct messages and the DMs. So what would you imagine is the biggest driver of DMs? Shout it out. Shout it out. Shout it out. Oops. I arranged that wrong. So it's actually from profile views. And if you think about it, my LinkedIn profile gets far more traffic than my marketing website. And then if you have more people working with you, those next year, it's out of control. So profile views, really treating your LinkedIn profile like a micro landing page. And how do you get profile views? The number one driver of profile views actually comes from your comments on other people's posts. And if you think about it, if I post, it's only going to go with people that are already connected with me. But those people know me already. I want to get to my key personas feed. And how do I do that? I comment on who do they follow? Who do they look up to? I want to comment on theirs, because one comment on a great comment on a post that gets a lot of traction and goes viral, I'll get 100 times more profile views from that than even my post that goes viral for me, like 100 likes. But one comment, oof, that makes all the difference. So here is the 5x5 LinkedIn approach. And if you do this, it's consistency over time, committed action. It'll change your life. So you're going to do 5 meaningful comments. And if you think about it, the influencer has already done the hard work of stopping the scroll. Your prospect has stopped in the scroll. That's magical stuff. And they got on their queue in the first place, on their feed in the first place. Like every time you post, you're actually auditioning for prime time. And it's more and more competitive now than it was like 8 years ago when I started writing. So they've stopped the scroll and you can just drop right in and make a comment. You're going to do 5 of those on 5 influencers that your target persona really looks up to. And you're going to do this 5 days a week. So, and to support you, this is a free tool. It is called Teamfluence. It's a game changer for me, in my opinion. You can have a free seat here. It won't do everything, but it'll do a lot. This little link, magical.wiki/Teamfluence, if you'd like yours. So here is where I'm accountable to my own KPI of 25 or more comments, right? So this is how I track it. I'm also able to see how I'm doing on LinkedIn in general. That's not a huge big deal. But it also allows you to track those influencers. So you're not scrolling LinkedIn if that's a concern. You can just go here, or you can have it directly ping you in Slack. So you have just that feed going. It also lets you do connection campaigns. It manages that, so you're not overgoing your limits, and it just kind of sends out 5 a day sort of thing. And it also does something called a lead harvest, where with people who are engaging or clicking on your profile, it'll kind of gather them all So you can disposition them, and there's webhooks you can pop them into your CRM easily. Well, not super easily because it's not a direct connection, but you know. And for activity, I'll give you 3 minutes. You can claim your free seat. You're going to install it in the Chrome extension. Go check out where stats are tracked and follow one influencer. And so you follow an influencer by going to their LinkedIn profile. And once you have the Chrome extension, you can click the little Teamfluence and then save to your Teamfluence org.
And
So
this
what,
is a huge game changer for LinkedIn activity. We made everyone in our cohort do it, and I've also done it myself now, and it's hugely, hugely helpful.
yeah. And if you want to make a difference, tracking it makes all the difference. Okay, Aliza, can you type the magical.wiki/teamfluence in the chat? I'll set 3 minutes on the timer and play some music.
Jacki, it's magical.wiki/teamfluence.
Yeah, magical.wiki/teamfluence. Yeah.
Hopefully that's right.
Let me check it. Yes. Yes. Okay. And we'll be sending out a recap, links, recording, etc. after. So if you only get a little way through, that is a-okay.
I'm sorry, I'm stuck here, and I'm assuming other people might be as well.
Yeah, go for it.
In Chrome, I'm just supposed to do magical.wiki/teamfluence, and that takes me somewhere?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me grab the link for you, like the hyperlink.
And what should we do when we get there?
Claim your,
create an account for yourself.
Create an account. And yeah, you opt in with your LinkedIn or your Chrome. Anyway, the Chrome extension kind of links the Teamfluence platform with your LinkedIn, and it'll collect your data that way.
Okay, the link worked. Thank you very much.
Great. Yeah, next time I'll have that here.
Thanks, Jacki.
Yeah.
Someone just showed up. Jacki, somebody asked in here, Rob asked about like what you find the tipping point to be of the 5x5 to actually get people contacting you about services. We have 50 seconds on the clock. Do you want to just talk a little bit about what you found?
Yeah. I think the tipping point is when you really start getting the back and forth with that content creator or the people who are in their comments often. I think of myself as like a seasoned character, like a recurring character, sort of like
a reoccurring character. I love that in
like,
the comments. Yeah.
Yeah. Like be the Cliff.
I love that.
Yes. And when you start having that banter, think about it as a house party. Like you wouldn't go in and just start yelling about yourself in the middle of the room. You'd probably see that there's groups of people gathered. You'd find one that looked interesting. You'd kind of go up, scoot yourself in, maybe say something funny to the person next to you, hit it off. Then you start talking. By the drinks, and then you're leaving and you're on the street and you won't like that's going from like in the comments, getting that rapport, being the season regular, and then it spills out into the streets where you can't stop yapping. It's the same thing, it's just digital.
Love that.
Yeah, of course. I love this stuff. Okay, let me stop the timer. And final stretch. Stretch.
Last 6 minutes together.
I have, I
share.
I am finding
Oh.
presentation. Okay, and present.
And Dina, it should work with your personal LinkedIn. That's
Yeah. I think some of the features will only work if you have like the Premier LinkedIn, like the paid LinkedIn. And if you don't, I would absolutely recommend it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okie dokie. Well,
All
that's
right,
it. You're ready to watch.
All right, so just quickly going over what we went over today. We talked about pricing and packaging. We talked about validating with your circle of influence, and then actually how to generate conversations with the 5x5x5 method. So hopefully that's helpful. And now you guys all have everything that you need. But if you are interested in going deeper with us and doing our winter cohort, like I said before, we're opening applications today for that. You guys are the first ones to know about it. So if you are interested in applying, we're going to be accepting applications until the end of the day tomorrow for this cohort to get first dibs on those spots. The spots are super limited just because we want it to be like conversational. We want to be able to give everyone the attention that they deserve. So if you want to join, we would love to have you. The session itself is going to start in January, and it's 2 hours a week over the course of 7 weeks, where we walk through literally absolutely everything that you need in order to have your first client by the end of that 7 weeks together. So if this is something that you're excited about and you want to keep the momentum going, what better time to start than in the new year? You can use the QR code to end up on the form to be able to apply. The tuition for the 7-week course is $14.99, for $1,499, just to be clear. And if you think about it, that will pay for itself with that first client that we expect you to have by the end of that first, by the end of the 7 weeks together. So we would love to see you all there, obviously. And if you guys have questions, or if there's anything that you want to chat more about that we didn't get a chance to answer during the last hour together, I'm free to stick around. I know there was a couple people who wanted to ask some more one-on-one questions. So that's the end of our formal presentation, but you're welcome to stick around and ask questions live. But thank you guys all for being here. This is so fun for us. So we really appreciate you coming out.
So, yeah.
And at this time, I know, I forget who it was that had a